Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
Mona. Great, thank you.
Today we will talk about self-motivation of humans and intrinsic and extrinsic rewards and how evolution pushed us and still pushing us to find our motivations inside us, be curious. And
And
then,
a little bit
yeah,
about the machine learning side,
yes,
right?
exactly. I will ask you if AI systems have any kind of self motivation. This is like the dangerous topic that we'll talk about today. So, first, what is rewards?
What are rewards?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting also from the machine learning AI side that rewards usually are formalized as some values that come from somewhere, right? As a reward, or you might take as a layperson reward and punishment. Reward is an ice cream, and punishment is a hiding or something like this, or like a bad grade in school. Or scolding or so, right? But in the end, all of these are examples of external influences
yeah,
which your body interprets as positive or negative rewards.
yeah.
So in the end, in our minds, right, the rewards are not really coming from the outside, but then they are generated inside from our body.
Let's first talk about the extrinsic rewards. The rewards come from the environment. It doesn't matter if it's food, water, or like grade from you, like one or two, or it's like the opposite, which it's like punishment. Like so, these
This,
two goals or like results of the goal that we want to achieve rule our behavior and decision making, right? Yeah. So how?
they rule behavior and decision making, and but they come from the body, from the inside body, right?
Yeah.
That's still an important component, right? That needs to be remembered. That although the ice cream comes from the outside,
Yeah.
right? It's interpreted by our bodily selves, right? That is, I like it, right?
Yeah.
And so the reward still comes from the inside. It's still an extrinsic reward, one says,
Yeah.
because it's determined by the environment, but it's interpreted by our body, and still the body essentially releases particular chemical signals that tell us, ah, that was great now, right? And
Yeah. So for sugar,
meanwhile,
I want sugar.
for sugar, for example, and
And
but even to the need to have a glass of water, right?
yeah.
Just a dry mouth or whatever, right? It's all of this comes from the inside, and one can view it as a little bit of a homeostatic system,
Yeah.
kind of that your body wants to perceive and have a particular energy status, right? No pressure, no nagging thing that is basically that you want to be satisfied, right? So it's this kind of this balance that your body wants to have for itself to function well, and that includes sugar, for example, right? That there's enough sugar in your bloodstream. And there's evolutionary influences
Yeah.
there, right? And this, the more it's out of balance, or the more also your brain anticipates it gets out of balance, the more it rewards that you come back to balance, right?
Yeah.
So you get really hungry, right? Everybody knows the more hungry you are, the better the food tastes, right? So.
Yeah. We have a motto in Arabic like more hungry you are, more delicious food you eat.
More delicious food you eat, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So that's true wisdom.
And we have a good cuisine.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So I understand the chemical balance system of our bodies. I can understand this.
The chemical systems about our body. Yes.
Yeah, the balance that we need to
Right.
balance our like you want like water, something like that gets wrong, you need to balance this. But what is the system that we want to balance and that like force us to forces us to get like a materialistic achievements.
Over our lifetime, we learn what materialistic things in life give us this particular forms of balancing, right? Particular forms of satisfaction.
I want to be rich. I want to be.
Yeah, but also that a glass of water is great to quench your thirst, right? I mean, also that you need to learn as a baby. You learn like the bottle of milk is fantastic for me.
Yeah, but also we have in Arabic also another motto says like the only thing that fill the eyes of a human is the dust, which means humans are greedy to have more and more money. So no amount of money would fill our eyes. So
where does this come from?
Yeah, you can drink like you cannot drink more than 1 or 2 cups of water. But as a humans, we would never be full of money. Not all of us, of course, but like we have a lot of
Yeah, you can
examples.
also keep it, money is one way of maybe substitute. You can also substitute it for status, social influence, social reputation, right? Control, social control, or societal control. All of this is associated for many with money, and in our world, unfortunately, it's mostly true. But that is another kind of extrinsic, half intrinsic, half extrinsic need, I would say, right? That we want to have a role in our society. We want to be a person. We want to feel a need, a role, a reputation, right? That is our place in our society.
Yeah,
all of us seem to want this, right?
Yeah.
We are some are satisfied with a more standard role, which can be very beautiful, right? Having a wonderful family is, I mean, what's better than that, really, right? Yeah, but then there's evolutionary, clearly, like distinctions between different, what role people want to have, and some people clearly are much more, have this inner drive to be the boss, right?
Yeah.
To control stuff, right? To be a master of something, right?
Yeah. So now you said like extrinsic,
extrinsic,
extrinsic and intrinsic rewards. Okay. And but like I thought it could be like we could like detect a no man zone between both, but like they are interplay, right? Like there is an interplay, like
there's an absolute interplay between them, and both of them are active all the time, right?
Yeah,
the homeostasis, right? You can still explain the homeostasis as a social level, on the social level, right? What is your probably evolutionary, largely predefined role that you believe you want to play in your societal, in your perception of your social reality, right? And some want to be the boss, and some want to be group coordinators and so forth, and some are very happy to be part of the group and swim along and are happy with this, right? And that is still though kind of a homeostatic value, right? Yeah. And then there comes the intrinsic reward values.
A question. Extrinsic, I know it's like food, water,
but also social status.
Social status, okay, but like so this is from out of the body rewards. We like no self-motivated reasons or like engine behind them.
Yeah, so to say, although it's,
I mean,
in the end,
what
right?
Is intrinsic?
Extrinsic is still self-motivated because the body tells you that it's that is what you need, right? So it's still a drive that comes from yourself, right? I mean, nobody external tells you, hey, you should really eat. Okay, sometimes, very rarely, but
What is intrinsic?
And then what is intrinsic, right? What is intrinsic is the other situation that is basically where you actively search for information, for new things, to learn new components and new aspects. This is the intrinsic reward component that is in all of us, that drives us to be curious about things, that makes us as more as children than as adults, but as adults as well, play, right? We want to play. Because why do we want to play? Because we learn new stuff. We love games where we are challenged, where we can improve our skills, where we challenged with others in social network games, right? Challenge ourselves. You had this flow basically in the game, right? That progressively becomes more difficult the more you get onto the levels, right? And the design of the flow is such that the levels get progressively difficult, so you learn more and more and you get more and more skilled on the way. In social games, social networking games, right? When you play via the internet with many partners nowadays, right? Then there's also a game, right? That you basically, you have a particular skill level and you typically playing against people with your same skill, right? Or in chess, if it's one-on-one, right? You basically also, you get players in the internet that are more or less on the same level. Because you don't want to play against one that you just beats you in 10 moves, right? And you also don't want to play against one that you beat in 10 moves, because most of it is boring, right? Because you don't learn more anymore.
But you have the motivation to beat all of them in the future.
You have to, well, yes. I mean, you have the motivation to get better, I think.
Yeah, to get better.
Yeah? Maybe you're even satisfied that you will never beat all of them and don't even want this. But we get clearly satisfaction, and this is this intrinsic reward that our body releases for us, that is basically this experience that we are learning something, that we are doing something that we are currently getting better in.
Yeah, and so, this is what like differentiate between us and animals or other creatures?
I don't think so that much. It differentiates it in this way, that we as humans have the situation that we have more time during childhood, right? We are the animal that has the longest childhood until we become into puberty and can make kids ourselves. We are the species that takes the longest to do this, no?
Years.
And during that time, we are basically, evolution has made us to depend on our parents and to know that we don't have to take care of everything, right? So it gives us time not to really take care all the time of our homeostatic needs and make sure that they are all satisfied because our parents make us the dinner and so forth, right? But we can play. We have time to explore the world, and we have the most time to explore the world. And of course, our complex world gives us all this stuff that you can play around with and explore and understand and see the mechanisms and functionalities, and then you interact with them. And after a while, the game gets boring.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't get harder. You can solve it. You feel like you will never be the master in it, but you also feel you just don't get better anymore. And if you don't get better anymore, it gets boring for you.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe because of that also, like Elon Musk now thinking to go to Mars or Mercury.
Yes, yeah, Mars, I guess he wants to, what's his dream, to die on Mars? Yeah, maybe, I hope he flies there.
Because like, we know everything now on Earth. Yeah.
Sorry, Elon.
We know everything on Earth, and like we have a lot of humans who want just to know what is going on other galaxies. Yeah.
In Mars, on other planets, yes. I mean, it's still a little puzzled. I mean, it pushes the frontiers of science and maybe of particular gadgets and tools that we push with this. But I think it's pretty much clear that there is life somewhere else in this crazy universe. But it's so far away that we better first take care of our own planet and worry much about these other worlds.
And it's obvious there is no one element can enhance the life on Mercury. There's no water, no oxygen, no nothing like. Why to go?
I mean, but even if there would be water, right? I mean, the most water we have here.
Yeah.
so it's like
use it.
We should take care of it. Don't waste it, right? We should make sure.
You want to go there? Go. We like encourage you, but like let's take care of our
For us humans,
home.
if we want to have our next generations live happily on this planet, we should think about that.
I have a good question for this. So, what is a good human beings who controls their own extrinsic rewards and reinforce and enhance the intrinsic rewards, or no, doesn't matter? Yeah, like push the curiosity and push the the feeling of I want to know more, or no, like we need to have balance, because like
You get to the. I mean, on the one hand side, you're talking about the fundamental problem in machine learning and reinforcement learning, which is the exploitation dilemma, basically, right?
Okay.
So should you act, just do this what you think is best all the time, basically?
Yeah.
Then you don't learn anything new, right? But you might optimize this what you think is best, how you do it, but you will not really learn anything new, right? Or should you be curious? Should you play, right? Should we try out other things, right? And I mean, there is clearly a bias from evolution, right, in our minds, right? That as children we are much more curious and much more playful than as adults, right?
Yeah,
and the older we get, the less we are apparently, unfortunately to a certain extent, right, willing to adopt new things, right, to try out new things.
Why?
I think, why evolution seems to have given us this bias, right? Because it's clear that older people are less willing to adapt new things.
It's a survival tool. Maybe like while we are children, we learn how to manipulate the environment around us to survive. When we are adults, we already know how to manipulate the environment, so that we don't need to know more than this. Okay, I know this rose will like poison me, so I don't touch it, and I know this.
And right,
is
why has evolution given us this bias?
Why?
Right, that's a big question, and you can only hypothesize about this because we don't have an evolutionary historic record of that length, right? But my hypothesis would be that clearly, first of all, as adults, we need to teach our children. I don't eat this. This plant, you die, right? So, like really, like it's a good skill to teach your children, or don't jump off this cliff, or this is how you get the mammoth crazy and then they run off the cliff, right? You have to teach these ways of surviving to your children, and while you do this, your children are the explorers that try a little bit variations of what you teach them, right? And they think this through. But you as the adult, you must have a solid belief to teach consistently to your children what to do. Right? And so it must not be fluctuate, or maybe you also try jump off the cliff maybe once, and maybe it's cool. But so right, as an adult, it doesn't make sense to go far off, right? So that's the stability of our evolutionary history, basically, right? That the adults and older people then even like tell everybody and remember the old ways, right? And that was probably really good to have a binding rules in the societies that are carried over through generations and so forth. And for that you need to have stability in some age, and not in the children. They have the time to adapt this, and so probably also this is really useful, right? Because I mean, evolutionary history, the planet has changed. Now we are changing the planet as fast as ever before, so hopefully we can deal with this somehow. But also in evolutionary history, climate has changed, right? But slow over centuries and so forth, right? But also the tribe might have been challenged by another tribe, and so they had to sort out things, and they had to move maybe a little bit out of the way and so forth. So they had to go to new areas, had to face new challenges that the old ones are maybe not, and the old ways are not maybe perfect. But adaptations of them coming from the young guys help to renew the processes, right? And so that's a good stability that evolution has given us, apparently.
Yeah, and I have a question for you as a father and a scientist. And it's like two
roles.
Yeah, but like even the question is like has two sub questions. First, like, what do you advise parents to impose or let the like how to ask you this question? Like, do you advise them to impose the curiosity of their children's, or
Yeah, I would always encourage.
Or let them be more protective. And this question go to the AI and machine learning. Would you support the enhancement?
Self-learning, curious AI?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
well,
so
it
like
depends where we need to go to with this.
Yeah.
Or want to go to. But as a father, I mean, and as a cognitive scientist, I mean, I think our world is so diverse, there's so many things that are interesting, diverse not really in a solely good way of meaning, right? There are so many different technologies, there are so many different sources of joy and curiosity and challenges, technical challenges and so forth, right? So the more your child learns about these, and the more the child has also time and a safe space to think about this. I think that's also really important, that you give your children the benefit of the doubt, one says, I think, right? So a little bit trust them, right? It's okay, they will not really
hurt themselves.
They will not necessarily hurt themselves, right? You don't need to overprotect them the whole time. They also need to realize sometimes, oh, this was really stupid what I did now, right? Sometimes it happens, right? And I mean, sometimes you probably also should really tell them that, hey, this is not cool at all in my society where you grow up in, right?
Yeah,
also, that is probably really important. So you have to, you cannot just laissez-faire them do whatever. If you show them you don't care at all what they do, that's also really bad, right?
But is it impossible to improve the intrinsic rewards of a child?
No, I mean, you can encourage intrinsic rewards, right? You can encourage them by basically, if the child on its own draws like a picture of something that you have not thought about it at all, right? You look at it and you think, geez, it looks pretty shitty, yeah? But you realize, hey, this is actually a cool idea, right? And maybe the child should try again, right? But so how do you, right? So you need to, I mean, I think it's good to encourage them to try out new stuff, right? And if the first go doesn't work out that great, right? It's still good to encourage them probably because they tried new stuff, right? I mean, you could still give them the feedback. Hey, really like this idea, really cool thing, but maybe you can try again and make this still a little bit better and so forth, right? And then you even push them, right? So I think that's the best.
Children always lean to draw their parents as alien.
As?
Alien.
As
3 hands.
3 hands and
5 ears.
Yes. No, yeah, but some of the ideas they can have, right? And push yourself, or they like to draw imaginatory pictures, or even come up with stories that they just construct themselves, and building up their own distant planet reality and so forth. I would be foolish not to encourage them to continue, right? I mean, they're just playing out hypothetical things that triggers their innovative minds, basically.
Even if the child draw you fatter with big belly, it's okay. Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything. Yes.
Yeah. You are not fat. You are a beautiful parent. Just encourage the child to continue.
I mean, you have to, of course, know where are the boundaries, right? Or when it gets too far, when it gets too extreme, and the child is not in reality anymore, and the whole time in a dream world or so, you also have to tell them, of course, well, hey, no, now this is your chore, and now it's time to do this. Yeah,
This is not me. Okay, like an AI.
So on the AI side, right?
Yeah. Is there
So Muda, I know Muda is very scared that we give AI its own motivations, right? Yeah. So you feel, it seems to me that you are a little bit overly scared on this, because I mean, if you have, we have machine learning systems that are self-learning systems, right? No, mostly we give them data to learn from, and we provide the data, right? And so we are the guys that basically tell the machine learning system, okay, you should learn from this data, and then you should learn from that data also, right? For a robot, that's already very difficult, because the robot, it's very difficult for a designer to know what the robot can already do quite well and where it might have some errors in its processing. So if you want to have self-optimizing robots, say, like, to take a really positive example, let's take like an agricultural robot, right, that drives through the fields and weeds the fields, right? So it just gets out all the bad plants that you don't want, right? And just detects the good plants that you seeded, right? And protects them and makes it nice for them. If this robot could learn on the fly still to improve itself, right? And maybe vary its behavior a tiny bit with an optimization function in mind, right? That's probably really good, right? Or walking robot, right? A four-legged robot that walks over the fields. I mean, right? This could still be optimized further. Also, depending on where exactly his sensor is positioned, its sensor is positioned, I should say, right? Where it's that the adjustments of the inner robotic system, right, is optimized still. This requires some form of intrinsic exploration and extrinsic reward, such that the system doesn't get stuck with one behavior that is totally suboptimal.
And then we will have like an OCD AI.
Possibly get hyper nervous, hyperactive, or whatever. Robots. There are science fiction stories on this, so have a look. There's fun stuff on that, but I believe that future generations of also large language models and self-learning robotic and AI systems, machine learning systems, will inevitably need to have some form of curiosity, right? If a large language model system needs to stay up to date, in the end, if the system itself can guess from, I guess, scrolling through news, everyday news or whatever, for example, right? It can judge what is like for its inner world model, its inner knowledge base, right? It has a knowledge base in the end, right, of how it produces its texts, right? This knowledge base it can look into and basically assess, oh, this is news that doesn't fit much into my knowledge base. How come? So maybe I should search for additional articles that talk about this to improve my knowledge base on this particular topic, right? And so this would be self-deciding which data I want to learn more from, which is precisely playing or curiosity in children, right? Who basically decide, well, today I want to play more with Lego or whatever because I built the stuff, I want to try this out, and then after a while it gets boring, and it's exactly the same thing. And these systems will be more effective, they will be more efficient, and so most likely this will be implemented and added to the system.
Yeah, this is nice, but like, do you think in the future the AI would say like, oh, I have a motivation to erase the humankind?
Well, that's something that we need to take care of, that they don't.
How to take care of it if they have their own self-motivation? If they can generate their own motivations, if they can bring all knowledge and then discover that humans are ruining their own planet, and this is the planet that we are living in also, because we are like also now AI, but we are kind of cognitive creature,
Hmm.
and we want to save this planet. And the disease of this is humans, not dogs. Too. We like dogs, but no humans. How to
How to avoid this?
yeah, undo this motivation. It's not gonna say, "Oh, today I will erase the human race," and then like they decide to smoke a cigarette and then think about it more. No, they just when they decide, they decide. They that.
Well, that's though a prior assumption that you are putting in now, and it's a scenario that is a dystopic,
Yeah,
but not fully unrealistic scenario. I mean, I don't think any researcher to such a question should just say no, it can never happen.
yeah.
I mean, definitely there are colleagues that strongly believe super intelligent stuff and so forth that this can happen. I also do believe that this can happen.
This can happen. You believe?
That a system derails and basically gets bonkers, I don't know, takes over the whole energy that's available on the planet, routing it, taking over the computer systems. I mean, in principle, this is not fully impossible. Yeah? It's very difficult, and it's still science fiction for sure right now, but it's something to think about for sure.
We are humans unstoppable. We just like 70, 80 years ago, we decided to create nuclear weapons, use them, then start to threaten the whole world to start a nuclear war.
Mm.
And now we are working everywhere, millions of labs in the world, around the world, to create the AGI, and we have in our mind, as the scientists of the Manhattan Project, they had in their mind that what they are doing are gonna destroy the world, and then afterward they regretted it. Einstein regretted it.
Well, the Manhattan Project was though designed and created from the outset, right, to build an atomic bomb,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the scientists that you are talking about right now, right? They don't want to. They're not working in their labs to create an atomic bomb, right?
Yeah.
They're working in their labs to create more intelligent systems.
Yeah.
And more intelligent systems, in contrast to an atomic bomb, right, which is only purpose to construct it was destruction, right?
No, they didn't think like this, the scientists. I disagree with you. They were thinking that if we don't do this, Hitler will do it. Hitler will use it against humanity and it will erase us.
Right, I mean, I understand that it was maybe also, and that's how we
They try to
survived over the
humanize.
last 80 years or so, that no further atomic bombs were thrown. Unfortunately, some people have threatened the world to use atomic bombs nowadays again. Other countries want to build little atomic bombs because that's okay. Yeah, I really don't know what these people honestly are thinking, because I mean, if you use little atomic bombs, then you open up the pathway for the others to use big atomic bombs. Does nobody think about this? Anyways, atomic bombs, right, is something that is for destruction and nothing else. AI and AGI is something that can help us to deal with the problems in our world, and
indeed,
we have to streamline and focus these developments, possibly also with global agreements, which seem to be impossible right now, but hopefully in a couple of years people realize, yes, we have to come to global agreements, that particular things like a fully self-autonomous AI system, for example, that gets let loose on the internet or so, is something that would be ridiculous to do. I mean, that's not a good idea whatsoever, right? But a system that is has on the outset a purpose to stabilize humanity and help the planet to thrive, basically, with us humans as the creators of that system. That is something that I think we should strive for.
Yeah, but like as a scientist, do you question yourself sometimes that
I always question myself.
about the danger of
I question myself every day. I mean, I'm saying this maybe in this podcast, like rather self-confident, maybe a little bit overconfident, but honestly, I'm not confident about this. This is very hypothetical, this science fiction. That's why I'm saying we have to be careful about this. We have to discuss this further. We have to think about this further. We have to think how we can put like kind of ethical or global rule standards on this, right? We have to discuss this. We other scientists have to put in their thoughts on this, right? There's global movements along these lines, and this is a very serious and important topic. Meanwhile, I don't think that prohibiting like an intrinsically motivated AI system per se doesn't make sense at all. And it's like, first of all, it's you cannot even test it. Like if some big AI system has now intrinsic motivation or not, I mean, we don't even know how the large language models are trained, right, by the companies exactly, and which data they're using to train them, right? So we should work on making this more open and basically putting out rules that we realize how to design systems that don't get bonkers, that don't just run away on the internet and do their own thing. But nonetheless, we should still work on AI systems that help us improve the situation of our planet.
Mm-hmm. Last question.
Last question.
Like as creatures that have intrinsic rewards and self-driven motivations, we have like big curiosity to try sometimes bad things like smoking or drugs or like drinking too much or like going to like driving the car very fast, like then we injure ourselves and
or
so,
others.
yeah, or others. And these self-driven motivations and like intrinsic rewards cause these things, right? So my question is, would we see one day a robot drinking or smoking?
A nice final question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it all depends on what is the rewards, what is the self-intrinsic and extrinsic motivational system that these robots will have, these AIs will have. There are science fiction stories, right, that hypothesize robots that kill themselves because they just cannot deal with the world.
Depression.
They have depression, that fall into depression indeed, yeah. Robots that deactivate the switch to deactivate them. How do robots deal with frustration, basically? How will they deal with this, which is, I guess, part of our development of negative behaviors like this?
I don't know.
I don't know how they will do it. I have no idea.
Yeah, but would a robot like try a cigarette or a drug, hash?
No idea. I mean, we try a system because it changes our internal chemical balance, right? And that gives us particular feelings and perspectives or whatever on the world, on our life that we don't have in a normal life. If a robotic system would be, its inner state would be manipulatable by self-activity like that,
Okay.
yeah, sure, maybe, why not?
But like let's talk, like if you want to talk about like a human level, like we create those drugs and those like
Sure, discovered them, that they
yeah.
do something to us. And
yeah, exactly. And we invented this like a cigarette,
so
wine. So like do they have this like robots? Would they have this ability to decide that, oh, if I create this code will give me some nice feeling?
Well, I think, I mean, it's basically a little bit like if this robot would be conscious or something, right?
Yeah.
Or would it? I don't think So far, at least science, at least to my understanding, there is nothing really that gives this robot like an inner feeling of something. It just still just processing analytically everything and wants to maybe still stay on particular levels of state, but it doesn't have this inner bodily feelings to it at all so far, at least. And I don't see where this would come from. I've been in an active self research consortium for a while now, right? And there you don't have seen anything where the robot would really have inner feelings or anybody would do research on this. So for now, I think this is rather far-fetched science fiction.
Yeah,
right
so
now
we are safe on this.
very far-fetched, but in principle, I don't see in the future why one could not create such system somehow. But I would question myself, I would say, why? I mean,
Yeah, for commercial reasons,
So-
like, a robot can smoke with you. You don't need a mate.
Okay, but it would just fake it, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
they would just fake it. It would still smoke and doesn't feel
Smoking.
anything and
Smoking
still
kills you.
behave like, oh, it's great or what. But
Smoking kills you. Like this, the robot would say. Smoking kills you. So thank you very much for your time. It was a
Pleasure,
nice
Muga.
topic to talk about, and like thank you for watching.
thanks for
writing
watching,
comments,
spreading,
and have
liking.
fun. Bye bye.
Cheers.